Welcome to the Health KPI podcast, formerly known as the Burnout Expert podcast. In episode 1 to 35, we focused on stress from a burnout perspective, featuring solo episodes and interviews. Interestingly, during every burnout interview, none of the individuals realized they were experiencing burnout. Not one realized they were experiencing burnout until they were already on the path to recovery. So now, starting from episode 36 on, we are changing our approach, changing our name, and looking through the lens of performance. I will begin with solo episodes where I'll teach you how to track essential health data, eliminate guesswork, and save you time and money while enhancing your performance. It is time to take tangible progress in improving your sleep, energy, focus, and moods, which will ultimately boost your productivity, performance, and leadership capabilities in both your career and your home life with your family. Every episode will be beneficial to you. So let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to episode 13 of the Burnout Expert podcast. We talked last episode with Lex Vuko, where we dove into her and I both being in the fitness industry, working with clients, and through overtraining and being too restrictive in our eating, we both started overtraining, diving into burnout. Both of us, she was bodybuilding competitions. I know for me, it was actually fitness competitions, where we're going into an extreme. Now, back then for me, there wasn't such a thing as CrossFit. There wasn't high intensity workouts. I'm dating myself here with all of this, but there's so much more intensity to workouts now than there were even then when I was training for fitness competitions. We're going back, 29 years. So it was a lifetime ago. And now there are high intensity workouts. Now people are doing intermittent fasting. They're doing extreme dieting. Well, dieting's always been around, but there's a lot more restrictions with a lot of diets and things like that, which does put people who are trying their best to be healthy. And really, there's this fine line between how much you can push yourself and getting yourself into burnout. And we touched on this a bit with Lex and I, where both of us, after the fact, we're struggling with where's that balance? Because we always thought we were pretty much invincible. Well, I'm putting words in her mouth. I always thought I was invincible. I thought I could just push and push. I was a trainer. Everything I was doing was on paper healthy. There is that line between how hard you can push and where burnout hits. Working with first responders, fire, the training that it takes to get into the fire service is unbelievable. And I do work with guys as well on even with policing, on specialized units, where the training that they do is astronomical. Now, the thing is what happens with many fire, with many police tactical units, with many people that are really delving into health and nutrition, is that once you start, life starts changing, once you start going into a different stage. So for fire and police, there's a difference between training for it and everything that it takes to get in than actually living the life. Because when you're living the life, you're on calls. You have 24 hours for fire. Some of them are doing 48, 96s, depending on the service. Some services are way busier than others. Some that are rural, you're working on a patient for a 2-hour drive to a hospital. So there's a lot of different stressors that are added in on top of all of the training that you do. And it gets to be where we're guessing as to what is the best for us as far as what does our body need on each and every day. We're guessing, okay, should I be hitting it hard? Maybe somebody has also created a program. My background is as a personal trainer. So when we're creating a program for somebody, it used to be, and I would never train a client like this anymore, but it used to be where I would say, okay, Monday is this, Tuesday is this, Wednesday is this. And on paper, it looked really good. On paper, it was like, okay, they've got enough time in between when they're really hitting their legs. They've got enough time to recover between things. We've got things low when they need to be. There was no accounting for life. There was no accounting for what was happening in the other hours of their day. It was just assumed those were all rest days and rest times. And we know that doesn't happen. So we end up getting into burnout, which is why I wanted to follow up on that episode with Lex to dive into how, if I was training personal training clients, what I would have all of them do, and what helps me a lot when I'm working with my burnout clients in order to be able to get them to push as hard as their body can on each and every day to get the benefits of the push, to get the benefits for their heart, benefits for their lymphatic system, being able to detox and clean themselves out, being able to get all of the benefits that our body needs in order to be able to learn how to handle stressors and give their body the recovery they need so that they don't keep putting themselves in burnout or putting themselves into overtraining, which was a huge fear of mine until I got myself. It was actually an Oura ring that I started with. And I had the Oura ring, loved it, thought I would never, ever want anything else. And I got the Whoop band because, which I actually just recently learned when I was interviewing a former fire chief, that the Oura ring actually is heat sensitive. I didn't know, so I didn't think fire guys should be wearing it. For officers as well, many of them don't wear rings, especially a titanium ring, especially on your first knuckle. It's not really, when you're in certain altercations or certain situations, it's not safe to have on you. So I started researching the Whoop band as well, only because of a functional reason, I thought. But once I dove into the two, the Whoop band blew me away. I thought I would have my Whoop band solely for a few months. And I then, just to learn it enough for my clients, I would keep my ring and I would hand the Whoop band over to my husband. And I have not, it's been a year and a half and I have not given up my Whoop band. It is so amazing for me to help with that fear I had of overtraining. I know now that I'm not going to ever go there again, but I know that I can still push myself, because I was actually holding back on my workouts as well, because I was afraid of going into overtraining. So how they do that is both your Whoop and your Oura ring do give you a readiness score. And they are amazing. So using the Whoop, using the Oura, you can do this with both of them. They have a readiness score in the morning that it gives you. Now, if you've had a day where you have pushed hard physically, let's say you have done a really tough CrossFit workout, high intensity workout, or you're in a physical job where you physically pushed yourself. So for fire, you were doing a lot of training exercises, or you had a multi-alarm fire where you were working a fire for a long period of time, even a fire that is short, you still have to put on 100 pounds of equipment and get out there. So there's all of these physical stressors that when you're pushing them, even mental stressors. This is the thing that you'll find. So first off, let's do the physical stressors. With physical stressors, what should happen is the next day, your readiness score should drop. It should drop. You should have lowered it because you should have stressed out your body. That is a good thing. The key is how low did it go based on what load you pushed on it. If you did a full weekend like competition, you were doing a CrossFit competition during the weekend, or let's say my neighbor's renovating. Let's say that you did a full weekend of demo by yourself, where this isn't something you do on a regular basis, where you were lifting heavy crap all weekend. It should be pretty low the next day, right? But so you want that to be low. The key indicator of how strong your stress system is how fast do you recover. The next day, do you get in whoop, we call it the green, or do you get like a higher readiness score in on the Oura ring? Are your scores increasing the next day, and by how much? So this is where we start to learn. First off, we just start observing and seeing how long are we recovering in between our workouts. If we are not recovering well, if it's taking us more than a day, if we don't drop for a day after and then start increasing after, then that is telling us that you are in burnout and you need to slow down on your workouts. Now, there's so many other factors that come into play here. We have our mental stressors. We have the stress that's placed on you on a day. So the Whoop starts getting to know your strain scores every day. A strain score is your the strain that has been placed on you mentally and physically. So you may have closed a deal in business. You may be working on a huge project. You may have ill family members that are that you're taking care of and worrying about. You may have a lot of extra stuff on your plate mentally, and that will increase your strain score. And the Whoop starts getting to know you and starts getting to know, okay, you can push to this amount of strain on a certain day. And if you push past that, you're going to be pushing for performance. You're pushing for stress on your body. If you, and it lets you know too, that if you go over the certain amount, then you start risking getting into overtraining, and you can start watching it. Now, the thing is that when you're in burnout, when your nervous system, we've spoke about your nervous system before, when your nervous system is so strong, your stress nerve, then you're constantly kicking into a stress state, because your stress nerve is like a muscle. The stronger it gets, the quicker it is to react. So your stress nerve is constantly kicking you into a stressed state, and that will increase your strain score. So if there's really not much going on in your life, like let's say it is a day off, and let's say your kids aren't around and your strain score is going up, that's telling us that your nervous system is firing, or there are some other health issues going on. We have gut issues, digestive issues. You may find that after every time you eat, your strain score goes up because your digestion is struggling. And that could be so many different reasons. Your digestive system actually slows down and weakens from long-term stress. So it may be that it just needs to be strengthened. It may mean that your certain foods are aggravating your gut right now while your digestive system is slowed down. But once you strengthen your digestive system, then you may be able to eat those foods again. But you may find a relation between certain things. You may find that you go and you do a day of yard work, and your stress, even though it was physical, your stress is actually lower because you were out in nature, you were doing things that you love to do, that your stress nerve didn't kick in as much. So there's a lot of things that we need to dive into when we're looking at this information. If your strain score on your Whoop band is continually high without you being physically active, then that is telling us that your stress system is overfiring, and we need to start working on that. But where? How is it? There's so many different stressors, as we spoke of: environmental, social, mental, nutritional, physical. Physical gets so many, there's so many hits to the physical too. You can have environmental toxins. You could have high toxin exposures to other toxins. You could have mold. You could have different illnesses. You could have an injury going on, digestive gut issues. You can have issues with your gallbladder or your kidneys. All of these different physical things can be increasing your strain scores. So it's really, we need to start diving in and figuring out why those strain scores are high. But I will tell you that having a Whoop band or an Oura ring has been a game changer for me in being able to know how much I can push my body, how far I can push my body, and without overtraining. It also tells me when I have pushed too hard and I need to give myself an extra day of recovery on the physical, or I'm like, oh, okay, I haven't been pulling out my tools for my nervous system and I need to start pulling them out again because my nervous system's starting to fire again. No one's perfect, even though we have all of these tools. Sometimes it's knowing when to take them out, knowing which ones we should be consistent with. There's really not a one size fits all, but once you start getting your, if you get an Oura ring or a Whoop band, you will start being able to find out what is stressing you more. You can tell that easier from a Whoop band. It has actually a daily stress tracker that's new, and it will spike during your day. It gives you 12-hour reading. And you can go back to these spikes and go, where was I when this spiked? And I know for me, last week, I was like, where did this spike happen? It was after I'd eaten a spicy tomato soup, an Indian spicy soup that was very spicy. I was like, oh, that was spices hitting me that stressed out my system. But it did increase my body strain score that day. I also have figured out how much a bag of chips stresses me out and for how long. I used to love to sit and have a bag of chips with my family. And I started watching my strain score after I'd eat a bag of chips. It would mess up the first 2 to 3 hours of my sleep, and it would increase my strain, which is my body's ability to recover as well while I'm sleeping. So I've started decreasing that, not take it away fully. I still am going to live and I still am going to have them sometimes, but the desire for them has gone away, knowing actually how much strain it puts on my body. It may not put as much strain on yours. So this is where we can really find out what is stressing you out. It can be the simple things, and you may also know the hard things that are stressing it out right now. You may not. You may know your gut's a mess and that it needs to be, but the thing is we don't always. I love with the Whoop and the Oura because it can be frustrating when you're going and trying to fix something and you're not seeing any results. You're not feeling the difference because your gut may be such a mess like mine was that it takes a while to see the results, but I could start seeing my strain was decreasing after I'd eat meals. My curve with my heart rate was improving as I was sleeping, which tells me my digestion is improving as well. So all of these things you can start seeing from a Whoop band. Specifically, the Oura ring does have a great heart rate curve for you to tell digestion and metabolism stuff, but the Oura ring, the Whoop band can be overwhelming when you first get it with all of the information. The Oura ring is way more simple. I can go in, read my Oura ring in like 30 seconds. I'm like, okay, I'm done, but I don't get as much information as I get from the Whoop band. So it really depends on if you just want the simple information, how deep you want to dive into it would depend on which device you would like. From sleep perspective, they're both amazing. And that's what both of them were designed on, was sleep. And then Whoop dove more into the performance and recovery side of things as well. Oura has stayed more sleep, which is super, super important. But the Whoop just goes that extra mile. All right, so now you know this is really how Lex and I could have avoided our burnouts, how Lex and I could have avoided all of the overtraining symptoms, the injuries that occurred to us, the mood swings that we got in, the energy being so low, messing up our hormones and all of that would have been amazing had we had a Whoop band earlier in our training careers. They weren't around then, they are now. So anybody who is highly into training, I would very much suggest that you do invest in one of these. It may mean you don't need to see me. It may mean that you don't need help. If you catch yourself earlier in the stages of burnout, you may not need me. I come in a lot in the later stages of burnout where you don't know what direction to go. You don't know what it is. You see that your HRV is so low and you're like, what the heck? Like, how do I get this back up? I'm trying all of the things and nothing's working. That's where I'd come in. I can't get my strain scores up. My strain scores are so high. My recoveries are staying low every day. And I'm doing all the things. That's where I'll come in and help you really figure out where we can start making changes based on your life, what's going on with you, and what direction to start going with you in order to start getting your sleep back on track, getting your HRV, which is your stress marker, to become more higher, more resilient to stress. That's where we can start getting all of these stats, your recovery scores, your strain scores, all back on track when you aren't able to do them by yourself. But honestly, if I would suggest starting with this on your own and see where you can get on your own, and then I'll come in and help you with where you're stuck. All right. That is today's lesson, where we dove into avoiding burnout and how the Whoop Band and the Oura Ring can help you train smarter. And I should have added to this, avoid burnout, avoiding overtraining, and all of those fun things, not so fun, in your life. If you have any questions, go to the show notes below. I am linking. I believe the link is still working for the Oura Ring, where I think it gets you $50 off. There's only a limited amount that I think each of us who has an Oura Ring is able to give. We don't get anything on our end. So if my link runs out, let me know. I will ask somebody else who has a ring for their code. The Whoop Band gets you, the link that I have there gets you a free month with the Whoop as well. That's their kind of refer a friend program that everybody who has a Whoop Band gets. So those links are below. My website, burnout.ca, I'm in Canada, is where you can get all of the episodes of the Burnout Expert podcast. You can join my mailing list from there. You can book a call with me if you want to book a call and check to see if maybe we are a good fit to work from each other, and go from there. After we've done that, book a call. What I do is, if we do feel we are a good fit, then I do a free 2-hour session with you. And in order to start diving in and really give you a feel for what things are about before you decide if you want to commit or not. So all of those links are on my burnout.ca website, burnoutexpert.ca. They're also in the show notes. And any questions, always fire them off to me. Email me, I will reply back, and I will definitely see you in the next episode.